Okay, welcome and thank you for joining us. My name is Paula Spinell from Be Wise, Be Healthy, and tonight we have here with us Fiona Turkey. She will be talking about pre and postnatal exercise, recovering our core, and also will give us some tips for managing parental stress. Fiona is a certified life and wellness coach. She's also the founder of MamaFit, and she has created a really cool application, MamaFit app. It's an iPhone and iPad app that helps pregnant women to get back into wellness. So I encourage you to check that out. Fiona is also a mom of 3 young children, and she's in the mission to teach other moms to put themselves first so they can be fitter, stronger, and calm moms. So without further delay, let's introduce Fiona. Fiona, welcome tonight and thank you for your time.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for that lovely introduction.
Yes, no, it's great to have you here, and we better get started. So Fiona, I have experienced it in myself, being a new mom and looking after small children. We are always busy, days are long, we get tired, we want to get back in shape, we want to lose the weight, but it's really hard to find the time to exercise, and that physical activity gets down to the lower, like very low priority and down to into our to-do list. So what advice would you give to new moms and moms with your children to rehabilitate their core muscles and get back in shape in a way that is fun and that we can make it done really?
Sure. Well, I think firstly it's just important for women to understand how crucial it is that they do rehabilitate correctly after having a baby, because if they don't, the ramifications further down the track can be quite painful with things like back pain or incontinence issues. So it's hard to think about that when you're busy and in the moment with young children, but if you can try and cast your mind forward 5 or 10 years or 20 years, and you're trying to avoid things like slip discs and things like that in the future. So it really is important to try and make this a priority in the here and now. But one of the things I notice with new mums is they think they need an hour to do a workout and they need to be out in a gym or in their gym gear. And so if they can't find the hour, then they just don't do anything at all. But you can actually fit in little snippets here and there, and they can be tied in with household boring tasks, or they can be done with your children present. And in a 10-minute or a 15-minute spurt of exercise, when we're looking at our core exercise, can be just what you need to do to get started, and that can be absolutely adequate in those first few months after having a baby, because there's no need to rush into it. And I think it's just having this concept of it's important to heal from the inside out. So if you presented yourself to a personal trainer who wasn't used to dealing with new mums, they might look at you and say, yep, I can get you moving and get you losing weight and jumping around and doing all of this stuff, but they haven't understood what's happened on the inside for you, and they can't really assess how strong you are inside with your pelvic floor and abdominals, like deep abdominals. So it's important to get all of that right before you go out and start doing all this high intensity exercise and jumping around.
Yes, that's a big question that most people have after giving birth, because we know our hormones and obviously the whole body changes to accommodate the baby that is growing inside us and then after the birth. So we are hyper flexible and we lose controlling the abdominal muscles, pelvic floor. So that's a great point actually. People want to get back in shape and they say, okay, I'll do it, but I don't know how to start, when to start, what should I avoid, or how can I know that I won't hurt myself and I'm doing actually good instead of yes doing getting wrong things, trying to move myself. So what do women have to be cautious about during pregnancy and after giving birth when they want to exercise?
Sure. Well, I'll start first with during pregnancy. So the things to avoid there: as you get bigger in size, you need to start avoiding things that place too much of a pressure or a load onto your pelvic floor, and you need to avoid things that place too much pressure on your abdominal muscles. So the classic one is doing a sit-up where you're sitting up like this, and if your tummy muscles are not the same as they used to be, they've expanded because they're accommodating this baby who's growing inside your uterus. So as you go to sit up, your tummy muscles can't hold the position, so they kind of just move to the side, And if you keep doing incorrect movements like that over and over and over, you end up with your tummy muscles sitting apart. So there's a gap down the middle of your tummy, if that makes sense. And so that's the main one for people to be aware of, is any movements that your body cannot hold that core in the right position will create kind of like elevator doors. Your muscles will just move to the side because it's too hard for them to hold the contraction. It can be in things like a plank, or there's a lot of Pilates and yoga moves that are not ideal for pregnant women. So that's a key area to be wary of. The other one is the pelvic floor. So as you get bigger and heavier inside to uterus, is to make sure that you're not doing lots of bounding around where you're putting this constant pressure on the pelvic floor. So any jumping and leaping movements, give them away for a while. And also things that have a risk of impact, so any sports or activities that, you can go crashing into somebody else or something else. Or for some women, if they haven't got very good balance and it deteriorates throughout the pregnancy, it's also good to avoid things that can put you off balance. But of course, there's ways to adapt all of your activity using fit balls and different types of equipment so that you can still do a whole range of movements without putting those risk factors in place.
Yes, and of course, exercising in pregnancy is great to keep you fit, but also to prevent that back pain. I remember I had back pain during my first pregnancy, and I had to go to Pilates and sit a lot with the exercise ball, and it helped me a lot. So it's not only to be fit, but also to prevent things from happening and yes, correct what's going wrong when your body is adapting to these big changes.
Totally. And the stronger you are and the fitter you are, I mean, it's great for mentally as well, but it really does help you afterwards in your recovery to be feeling strong. There will definitely be a period of inactivity from, some women can't exercise at the very end and won't exercise after the baby's born. So the stronger you are before you have that period of activity, the better chance you have of having a great recovery and being able to move back into activity. So if we look at after the baby's born, the things you need to avoid, it's really the same areas again with the pelvic floor and the abdominals. And I think firstly you need to learn how to assess those areas or to have them assessed by your doctor. So they can teach you or they can assess for you your pelvic floor strength to make sure you've got the ability to hold contractions for a long period of time and for short bursts of activity. And then with your abdominal muscles, they can check for a separation in there so that you can be aware of how severe your abdominal weakness is and whether you really need to be cautious in avoiding lots of these activities. And it's the same kind of activities that you avoided in pregnancy that you avoid after pregnancy until you've rehabilitated those muscles. And one of the classic ones for women is you're lying in bed and your baby's screaming, so you jump up out of bed, and that motion in itself of jumping up forward, which we've all done, is not great for your abdominal muscles. So it's learning how to do little things in your daily life, like rolling over onto your side and pushing up with your arm to get up out of the bed. Or if you're carrying a toddler, let the toddler climb onto your lap and then stand up rather than picking up a toddler, because that can be a lot of pressure on your pelvic floor. So it's learning ways to protect your body during those first few months or weeks when you're really in a weakened state before you even start thinking about going off and doing exercise.
Yes, that makes sense. When we give birth, we have to learn a lot of things, and we don't realize that, and we don't plan. And obviously, there's not much education about how to move, how to carry a baby without getting your back, yes, all bended or lifting forward, and all these different maneuvers that we have to learn by living with a little baby. So it makes sense. Can I ask you a quick question with the separation of the abdominal muscles? Is that normal to keep the muscles like a little bit wide open after a few years? Or if you rehabilitate correctly, are you expecting those muscles to close again?
It can be common to still have a little gap, a centimetre or something. If you didn't make any effort to rehabilitate it, for some people it will come back together naturally anyway, but for others it will remain apart if they haven't consciously tried to heal that. So it can be normal to have a small gap after years and years. but it can also not be a great thing to have that small gap if you haven't rebuilt the strength of your core muscles. And the other thing we're finding recently is rather you could have a small gap of 1 centimetre, but the connective tissue in there is quite tough and strong, and if you put your finger in there, it pushes back against you. That can still be quite a strong core for you, as opposed to someone who's got a small gap but really weak connective tissue, so there's not a lot of strength in holding those muscles together. So that can still be of concern and should be, in those situations, I would recommend still doing rehabilitation to get it back together.
Okay, yes. I asked because I still feel the gap.
Yeah. Yeah, and look,
And
some women have it like years later because they weren't educated on it or just had no awareness of it. So it's never too late to actually do the rehabilitation work. It can be years later, months later, whatever. And
okay,
like you said with the back pain, it's worth it because eventually those things can lead to back pain because you're not holding your core and your postural alignment is affected. And, as a mum, you're always lifting prams and children and bending over and doing dishes and all that stuff just repeatedly over years and years just wears and tears us. So we need to have that core strength so that we don't get worn down with pain.
yes, I totally understand that. I remember getting that said every time we went to the Pilates class, how important was the core muscles, but on our day-to-day life, we get so busy, children are crying, we have to rush and we don't look after ourselves as we should do. So what are
Yes.
the most important things that we could do to rehabilitate correctly and to look after ourselves to get those core structure helping us and supporting our body for the longer time?
Sure. The first thing is to try and get an understanding of what's happened and what the abdominal muscles are. And the muscle that you need to learn to reconnect or refire is your transverse abdominals, which is the deepest layer of muscles that goes acrossways. So it's not the six-pack muscles that go at the front, and it's not the ones around the side. It's sort of flat across the front. Yep.
Okay.
And I always say to women, if you put your hands just sort of an inch or two in from your hip bones and then do a fake little cough, like and you're sort of poking him with your fingers, you should be able to feel a little bit of muscle contraction underneath there. Can you feel that?
Yes, if I do just down the hips, yeah.
Yeah. So that's a good indication of your transverse abdominal muscles contracting under there, and you can do a whole range of movements very, very slowly to start getting everything working in unison. So say, for example, you're lying on your back with one leg bent up and the other leg straight, and you just lift that leg up and down very slowly, but have an awareness of that movement coming from that cough muscle, so that
So
it's your
probably holding,
abdominals actually.
would you say it's a good idea to put the hands there so you feel
Yes,
it? Okay.
yes. In fact, if I'm doing that exercise, I tend to have one hand on that cough muscle and the other hand underneath my back so that I can make sure that I'm still keeping a little natural curve in the spine, but not arching my back right up. So you can sort of push your back against the hand, but making sure there's still that space between the floor and your back. And that way, it feels like you're doing nothing, to be honest, but it's a way of getting women to really understand how their core is working. And it's just a great foundation to get these things firing in unison before they go off and doing other things. And the other really more basic activity is just to learn to breathe properly, which sounds crazy because we all know how to breathe. Um, but there's a thing called belly breathing, and that's where we get our core sort of working in unison. So your diaphragm and the pelvic floor and the abdominal muscles, they're all connected with how they move. And so if you can, and this is something you can do during pregnancy as well, but if you place your hands on your rib cage, sort of beneath your bust line,
Yes.
and then as you take a breath in, you feel that expand with air and your hands come out a little bit as your ribs expand, and your pelvic floor will go down and relax as the diaphragm fills up with air. And then on the exhale, and you should be able to do this without the chest moving a whole heap, so it's all down in the belly. As you exhale, you'll feel those ribs come back in around the spine as the air comes out of you, and the pelvic floor actually comes up and contracts, not in a tense, intense way, but just in a relaxed kind of muscle contraction. And to practice that is an amazing skill for reconnecting all the muscles. so that then when you are lifting the pram into the boot or you're doing a bicep curl in the gym, your pelvic floor is used to contracting in unison with your breath, so it's protecting your body all of the time. And one of the things you and I are both passionate about is managing stress. It's also a fantastic way to manage stress in terms of just going back to basics with breathing, and it's a really good foundation for meditation. So that belly breathing is a really good skill to practice.
Yes, I was going to make that point that it's not only good for your body, but also being mindful and being in the present and just relax and forget about what's happening outside in the real
Totally.
world. Yes,
Yeah.
you make it sound really simple, but the belief and what people think is that we have to work really hard, sweat, and go to a gym, find a membership, join a group, or do a lot of work to rehabilitate. But as you said, it's just gentle movements and probably being consistent and work a little bit, yes, adding more and more with the time. So I think that's a really key point and great message to take home, because we usually want to do and do more, and we think that by just getting tired and sweating and moving or doing a lot of repetitions, it will be good, but probably we'll be hurting ourselves. So it's just starting slowly, building up, but being more conscious about the muscles and how we are getting the core to be strong. Is that right?
Yes. And look, there's some really simple abdominal sort of rehabilitation exercises that are in my app, and you can do them when you're sitting there breastfeeding your baby, or you can do them in the park pushing your child on a swing. So they're internal movements. As you say, you don't need to be sweating and spending hours in the gym. There's little tiny things you can do at home. But the thing about going to the gym, I always laughed. I would go to the gym and there was another lady there who'd had a baby about the same time as me, and she used to be a triathlete. And the two of us, a year later, we'd still go into the gym and we're lying down on the ground doing these simple little movements that we could have done at home, but we weren't there to do them away from all of our children. But we didn't need the gym to do those exercises, and we weren't sweating and huffing and puffing. We were just down there respecting our body and what it's been through and just doing these simple little core exercises over and over and over. I still do them now. My baby's nearly a year and a half old, but I just think they're the important foundation, and if I stop doing those and just go to the huff and puff kind of exercise, it's not the best thing for my body. So I still do them all the time.
Okay, great. So something to keep working on for the longer
Yeah.
practice.
Yeah.
Keep it as a regular practice. That sounds good. So in terms of finding the motivation and keeping people um, aware of the need of exercise, how do you motivate your clients, or what advice do you give to your clients so they really think about the long-term health and how doing these simple things will affect? So I don't know, is there any tip for motivating people to actually do this stuff? Because it's simple, but if you don't have a personal trainer or a coach saying, okay, 1, 2, 3, let's do it together. Sometimes it
Yeah.
happens to me, I don't do it.
Yeah. I think I kind of get a little bit deep and hippie in this stuff, but I think it has to come from within. Like, as you say, if there's no one there beating you with a stick, it needs to come from within. But I always ask women about how they want to feel, and the responses are always the same. Every woman wants energy to play with her children and to live a vibrant life. They don't want to feel so tired. They want to be pain-free, and they just want to be happy. Mostly it's not about looking a certain way or having a six-pack or any of that stuff. It's about feeling good inside. And so I go through in my coaching a series of exercises and all these questions that help them connect with that feeling and to really sink into that feeling so they know what it will feel like to feel this fabulous. And then conversely to think, well, if I don't do anything about this, how am I going to feel if I look back in 6 months' time and I haven't made these changes, or I haven't started rehabilitating my body? How am I going to feel then? And so then they feel this, all the stuff that they don't want to feel. And then we just go through the motions of coming up with all the little things they can do to contribute to feeling good. And it's not about grand gestures. It's about little healthy habits that are easy and they can integrate into every day, or at least every week. And so that way they get this feeling of success, and they get the feeling of it being easy, because you don't have to do a million big things to get there. If you drink your water each day and you have healthy meals and, do a little bit of body movement, then you can feel healthy and feel energetic and all the stuff that you wanted to feel. So to me, it's all about feelings.
Yes,
In summary.
that's true. Like whenever you're doing a change in your life or wanting to go for a goal, it's all about the why. If you know
Mhm.
why you want to do it and you understand and you connect with the feeling, I totally understand that you will do it, and it's just taking baby steps. So it makes a lot of sense. And just reminding, as you said, it's not only exercising and going for a gym or running 2 hours, but drinking the water, be conscious of what you put in your body, what you eat, having a sleep. So it's the holistic approach and looking after yourself. So
Yeah,
one thing that
totally.
I wanted to ask you is when kids start getting older, you do a lot of lifting, carrying them in a hip. You bend all the time to pick up the toys, to get the, yes, packing, do the cleaning. So how, and another part apart from the core, how can we look after our back and spine? Because I know moms, yes, don't look very much after this
Yeah.
area.
Yeah. Yeah, as you said, there's so many activities we do every day that are not ergonomically sound. And the other problem is we're all looking down at our phones like this all the time.
And this,
So, yeah, the first thing is to just be aware of your postural alignment. And so bringing your eyes up to this level rather than having your head pointing down all the time, and bringing your shoulders back, imagining your shoulder blades kind of going down into your back pockets of your jeans, um, and just being aware of how different that feels compared to how you were probably holding yourself a second ago, especially if you're doing these tasks,
yes,
and then making it a conscious practice to negate that movement. So you're always like this. So finding all the ways you can to open up, and there's lots of different exercises that you can do that are really simple. Just you can stand up differently, or you can roll yourself over a fit ball backwards. You can get the broomstick and sort of wind your arms back. I really love that one because especially if you're a breastfeeding mum, you get so tight in these muscles here and in the shoulders. So anything that really opens you up. Um, there's a few really nice yoga poses like the camel pose where you're opening up your heart, so you're putting your head and your arms back towards your ankles in a kneeling position. Um, but yeah, anything that really just brings you back like that. And there's a few stretches in my app that are really aimed at just getting the shoulders moving, getting the neck moving, and bringing the arms backward of the body.
okay, yes.
But
Getting,
yeah, crucial that combined with the core strength of the stuff we were talking about before can help prevent that back pain later in life.
great, that sounds good. I actually will love to check your app and recommend it also to my pregnant clients because it, yes, we need to see that visual and how, like, how to incorporate that into our daily practice. So it's a great reminder or something that you can have portable.
Yeah, and I
Great.
think some people are scared of yoga because they don't know what to do, and fair enough. And people are scared of exercise or they can't be bothered and they haven't got the energy. But to just sit down for 10 minutes, and you can do it in front of the TV, and do some stretches from the app is a lovely thing to do for your body. So it's similar to doing a yoga style movement, but it's just sitting down and doing some stretches, and your body will always thank you for it. You're never going to regret doing them, and it's a simple, easy thing to fit into your day. So it's a great starting point for people that aren't exercising yet.
Okay, sounds good. So let's talk a little bit about this motherhood stress and how our, yes, days are looking after kids, the crying, the yelling, the rush to get things done, all the different feelings of not doing well, not doing enough, being healthy. So, what is your advice? Because I know you work holistically, not only in the fitness, but also looking after moms as a whole. What is your magic formula for managing this stress?
Um, I don't know how much magic there is to it, but to me, it's about having the understanding that as a mother, you are the energetic protector of your child for the first however many years of their life. And so you're like their safe home base kind of thing. And if you're like crazy with stress and anxiety and or run down with ill health, that's the energy you're putting out into their little dome. That's the world that they live under. So then they are influenced by your energy, and if it's a negative energy, that can influence them in a negative way. Whereas if we are vibrant with positive energy and good health and good intentions, then that's the energy they're living under, and of course that's what we all want for our children. But it's easy to just get caught up and spiral downwards.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, on the aeroplanes, they ask you to fit your mask before the child because you can't help someone else if you've run out of oxygen yourself. So it's about helping yourself first so that you can help your family members. And I think for women, we need to find some silence and some space in our life, because when you tune into your body gives you signs and signals of when things are becoming too much, and it can give you signs that you need to start slowing down. Because I think every woman has a threshold, and for some people it's here and some people it's here, but when you're getting closer to your threshold, there'll be some kind of signs and symptoms. For some people it's mental anxiety and things, and for other people it's physical, but there'll be something that's letting you know that you need to stop and rest and look after yourself. And so once you can start tuning in and identifying those signs and signals, and once you can learn what's the best rejuvenating activity for you, you need to just build a practice of putting those activities into place. And for some people it's meditation, for some it's exercise. I've got clients who it's riding the ride-on mower. It can be anything that just is relaxing to you. It could be spending time with friends, reading a book, eating well, whatever it is. You'll know what things work for you, and it's a matter of just honouring yourself enough to fit them in regularly. I won't deny it, it's really, really hard sometimes, but it is possible to do it. It is possible to look after yourself, and the benefits for the family are so worthwhile.
Yes, that's something that I really promote as well. And you don't need to find that big hour or go away for a massage or a retreat on a weekend, but it's just taking those 10 minutes when your kids are asleep to meditate or read a book, or yes, half an hour, whatever you can, but making it
Yeah.
a priority in your days. So
Yeah, because when you don't, and then you hit some kind of breakdown, which happens all the time,
happens.
it's so much harder to recover from. And so you're better off, prevention's better than cure. So we're better off looking after ourselves, because once once you hit that breaking point, you're no good to anybody, and then it's much more difficult to manage the family. So it's definitely worth looking after yourself.
Yes, no, I totally agree with you. Otherwise,
Yeah,
we get sick, get angry, and yes, it's
yeah,
more, yeah, harder.
exactly.
That sounds really good. Thank you so much for all those valuable tips and information for looking after ourselves during pregnancy and also after. So I know that you have some great bonuses for people that are listening to this seminar. So where can we find you, and can you tell us more about those specials, please?
Sure. You can find me at www.mumafit.com.au, so it's MUMAFIT. And in the top right corner of my webpage, you can subscribe to my newsletter and receive a free audio meditation download. And it's a quick 5-minute meditation or a guided meditation that I've designed specifically for mums. And it's based on the clients that I've worked with and the type of things that work in relaxing them and calming their mind and creating a good mind-body connection. And I'm sure everyone can find 5 minutes somewhere to do it, so I definitely recommend that. And I've also got a coaching offer, so for anyone that would like to sign up for my Mama Bliss coaching series, if they do it within the next fortnight, they will receive $80 off the coaching package and a free 30-minute consultation just to have a chat together and see how I could help you or help them with their health and wellness needs.
Okay, that sounds great. So yes, people will contact you if they want to, or just get that download meditation on your website.
Yeah.
Uh, is there any key message that you want to yes share with our audience before we wrap up?
Oh, just that you are worth it. Like, there's so many resources out there now for people to get information and motivation and access things really cheaply. So just know that you're worth doing it and that you can do it, and just go and do it. Do whatever you need to do to feel better and feel healthier and rehabilitate after the baby.
Yes, no. Thank you so much. I'm getting some tips myself, and obviously I'll be sharing others with people at work, but it makes sense, and it's just keeping going back to basics. That's my biggest, probably, yes, biggest message for today. Getting back to basics and just being conscious and aware and loving yourself a little bit more every day. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Fiona, for your time.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's been
Great to
great.
have you here, and have to, yes, hope you get your message across to many people as well.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye. Good night.
Bye.